Prague is a city that looks like a painting. When you first see it through Street View, you understand immediately why it's called the City of 100 Spires. Red roofs everywhere. Tile roofs, terracotta-colored, covering centuries of buildings. Rising up from the roofs are church spires, castle towers, astronomical instruments, all pointing up, all competing for sky. The city is built on hills. It climbs. It doesn't spread flat. Everything is vertical. Everything is dense. The Moldau River flows through it, dividing the city into two parts, but also connecting them. Prague is old, really old, medieval, built in the medieval period and never completely rebuilt or destroyed. Other European cities got flattened by wars or completely redesigned by modern city planners. Prague survived relatively intact, which means walking through it feels like walking through time, like being inside a medieval city that's still alive, still functioning, still real. The Stare Miesto, the old town, is the heart of it. Narrow streets so tight that sunlight barely reaches the ground. Buildings built close together. Stone buildings. Ancient buildings. Some have stood for 800 years. The architecture is Gothic. Pointed arches. Intricate carvings. Details everywhere. The Altstädter Ring, the old town square, is massive. Open. A contrast to the narrow streets around it. The astronomical clock sits on one side of the square. Built in the 1400s. Still working. Still keeping time after 600 years. Every hour figures emerge from the clock. A skeleton representing death. A figure representing vanity. Other allegorical characters. People gather to watch. It's a ritual that's been happening for centuries. The clock still works the way it always has. No modernization, no updating. Just the same mechanism, the same dance every hour. The Karlsbrücke, the Charles Bridge, connects the two sides of the city across the Moldau River. Built in the 1300s, Gothic, stone, covered with statues, saints mostly. 30 statues along the bridge, each one carved with care, each one watched over by the city for centuries. Walking across the bridge, you're walking through history. The bridge is crowded. Tourists and locals, musicians, street vendors. But it's iconic for a reason. The view from the bridge is spectacular. Looking downstream, looking at the city, looking at the castle rising up on the hill. The Prague Castle sits above everything, massive, stone, imposing. It's been there since the 900s, rebuilt many times but always there, always dominant. The view from inside the castle looking down at the city is different. You see how the city is organized, how the river defines it, how the two sides relate to each other. St. Vitus Cathedral is inside the castle complex. Enormous, Gothic, built over centuries. The construction started in the 1300s. It wasn't finished until the 1900s. 600 years of construction. The architecture is intricate. Statues, carvings, stained glass. All of it expresses something about faith, about intention, about human effort devoted to creating something that will last. The Jewish quarter, Josefov, is like Krakow's Kazimierz. History, emotion, weight. The old Jewish cemetery is here. Thousands of graves stacked on top of each other because there wasn't room to expand outward. The gravestones are tilted, crowded, layer upon layer of death, layer upon layer of community. The synagogues still stand. Some are still used. Some are museums. The history is present, tragically present. The Neovites is the new town, built in the 1300s, but still medieval feeling. It's bigger than the old town. Broader streets, less dense, more open, but still old. Still built before cars, still navigable on foot. The neighborhoods of Prague feel distinct. Each one has its own character. Vinohrady is bohemian, artistic. Žižkov is working class, authentic. Holešovič is becoming trendy. Different, but all still Prague. The Czech language is unique. It's not Germanic like German, not Slavic simple like Russian. It's complex, consonant-heavy. The sound of it is sharp, musical. People speak it in the streets, in shops, in cafes. It's part of the identity. The beer culture is serious. Czech beer is famous for good reason. It's good. People drink beer like water. At lunch, at dinner, at cafes. The beer halls are social spaces, not drunk spaces. Just spaces where people gather, drink slowly, talk, eat traditional Czech food, goulash, schnitzel, things made with care, made with time. The architecture of Prague is layered. Gothic from the medieval period, Renaissance from the Renaissance period, Baroque from the Baroque period, all of it coexisting. The layers are visible. You walk down a street and the architecture changes. You turn a corner, and you're in a different century. The Prague Spring happened here. In 1968, Soviet tanks rolled in. Prague resisted. It didn't work. The Soviet occupation lasted 20 years. Then it ended. The Berlin Wall fell. Prague was free again. That history is embedded in the city, not always visible, but present. The city was occupied. Then it was free. Then it had to rebuild itself. The communism left marks, brutalist apartment buildings, a different aesthetic than the medieval center. But the city absorbed it, integrated it, kept moving forward. The Charles University is here, founded in 1348, one of the oldest universities in Europe. It shaped the city, filled it with students, with intellectual energy, with young people thinking, creating, debating. The cafes of Prague are where intellectuals meet, where artists gather, where writers write. The cafe culture is serious, strong coffee, good cake, time spent, not rushed. The river is constant. The Moldau flows through it, not as dramatic as the Bosphorus, not as wide as the Danube, but it's there. It defines the geography. It creates the division between Old Town and New Town. It creates the need for bridges. It creates the necessity of connection. The light in Prague changes with seasons. In winter, the red roofs become darker. The city becomes more melancholy. In spring, the city awakens. In summer, tourists fill the streets. In autumn, the colors change. The light becomes golden. The city transforms, but the core remains the same, medieval, historic, real. What makes Prague profound is that it's a medieval city that hasn't been destroyed by modernity. It's survived, it's adapted, but it hasn't abandoned who it was. The narrow streets are still there, the old buildings are still there, the river still flows the same way. That continuity is rare, that endurance is remarkable. Prague doesn't need to reinvent itself. It just needs to keep being itself. And somehow, after centuries, it's still doing that. That's Prague. That's what makes it real. The cafes of Prague are where the city thinks, where artists sit, where writers work. Small tables, good coffee, cakes that are remarkable, no rush. People sit for hours. That's the rhythm. That's how the city moves, slowly, intentionally. The beer halls are part of this too. Vltava, one of the oldest, has been brewing beer since 1459. The same location, the same tradition. People drink beer there like their ancestors did. The light beer is pale. The dark beer is rich. The taste hasn't changed in centuries. It's not marketing. It's just continuation. The Jewish quarter survived things that destroyed other places. The gravestones in the cemetery lean against each other. Thousands of bodies stacked because there wasn't room. The weight of history is physical there, tangible. You feel it walking through. The city was built on this. Layers of tragedy, layers of resilience, layers of people living and dying and being remembered. The Charles Bridge at different times of day is different. Morning, it's quiet, peaceful. Afternoon, it's crowded. Evening, the light turns golden. Night, it's atmospheric. The statues watch. The river flows underneath. The city surrounds it. The music of Prague is everywhere. Street musicians on bridges, jazz clubs in basements, concert halls hosting orchestras. The city has a soundtrack. Classical mostly. Respect for composition. Respect for skill. The Prague Spring Music Festival happens here. Artists from all over the world come. The city becomes even more alive, even more engaged. The people of Prague are reserved sometimes, not immediately friendly like some European cities, but genuine. Once you're in, you're in. The friendships are real. The connections are deep. The culture values intelligence, values discussion, values thinking. That's embedded in how people interact. The future of Prague is complicated. Tourism brings money, but changes the city. Gentrification is happening in neighborhoods, rising prices, new people moving in. But the core remains. The medieval center still exists.